أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعن الله على أعدائهم أجمعين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, Allah has given us this opportunity to get together and be able to discuss one aspect of how we can submit to His commands and become better Muslims. Now we must understand that there are many commands that Allah has given us. And as we know in Furu'e-Din, fasting is the second command after Salat. So we want to discuss how that worship and how that submission can take us closer to Allah, insha'Allah wa ta'ala. Because everything that we do, we say, Qurbatan ilallah. Ya Allah, that I'm doing this so that I may get nearer to you. Now this getting nearer to Allah is a lifelong struggle. We cannot say I know everything. We cannot say I'm perfect. Nobody is perfect except the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So therefore we want to get there on how we can perform better from what I have been doing for so many years before, or better than what I was last year, and become better every time. So we start with looking at the command of Allah in Surah Baqarah when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyama kama kutiba alalladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Now in this ayah we can see that Allah says, O you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may achieve taqwa. Now in this Quranic command there are four major points in just one ayah. We can see that this is a command that has been given, that is been given to only those who have brought faith, those who have believed in Allah, those who have believed in His Lordship, who have believed in the angels and the prophets and the books and everything that came from Allah as guidance. It is not a general rule. And in that we can see that Allah wants us to travel this path towards Him. And in that He says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe. Now this Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu is a discussion on its own. It is mentioned in the Quran 89 times. And every time it is mentioned, it comes with a command that follows. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam. Ya ayyuhalladhina idha nudiya lis-salati min yawmil jum'ah. If you are called on the day of Friday. And it is 89 different commands sent out at different levels. Now, we cannot discuss that in detail. It is a discussion on its own. It's not a discussion, it is a series of discussions basically on that. And inshallah, if Allah will give us tawfiq, we will discuss some of these during our Friday khutbahs and the Thursday night majalises as we get an opportunity. However, suffice it to mention that the Quran every time has used the word people of for all the ummahs before Rasulullah. People of Lut, people of Ibrahim, people of Ad, people of Samud, people of Saleh, people of the prophets before, people of Noah, people of Ibrahim, people of Musa. It is only a credit, or what we say, an honor that Allah calls those who are the people of, like we are the ummah of Rasulullah, we are people of Rasulullah. But Allah grants this honor only to the people of Rasulullah by calling them, O you who believe, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, those who have brought faith. It does not mean that those people did not bring faith. But this is an honor specifically for the people of Rasulullah. And in that, the tafasir tell us very clearly that the first of them who brought faith is Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamu alayh. And he is not the foremost. You know, many times we translate loosely by saying he was the first to believe. No, he was not the first to believe. He is the foremost in belief. There is a difference between first and foremost. First is the first one who came. Does not make him foremost. Foremost is he is not only the one who came first, but he is ahead of everyone else, and that is why we call him Amirul Mu'mineen, the master of believers. There is none like him, and that title is reserved only for Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamu alayh. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. Now, therefore, that takes us to the second part, which says, Kutiba alaykumus siyam, that fasting is a prescription. When we go to a doctor, we get a prescription. Do this and don't do this. It is always two ways. Take this medicine and refrain and restrain yourself from, say, if you are a diabetic, then sugar. That you must be able to get the cure. What is it here that Allah is telling us? That this is to achieve a certain level in life, getting towards the rank that we can achieve in life. It is a prescription of success, and therefore it also has the do's and the don'ts in this prescription. And what are these? It is a prescription by whom? By Allah Himself, the creator of us. He is the one who created us. He is the creator of the entire universe, and He is the one who tells us how to get and achieve success by telling us what to do and what not to do. So how do we achieve this goal? And we go to the third part, which is, it is not a new prescription. It is a prescription that even the people before Rasulullah were given. We can see there is fasting in Christianity, in Judaism, all these religions that were brought by the prophets, they have fasting prescribed for them. It may have different laws, because based on the time the religion was sent and brought by the prophets, but the prescription remains. Fasting has been a fundamental issue in all religions. So, but Allah here tells us why we fast. And that is, He says, so that we may achieve taqwa. It is not an automatic thing that if I fast from dawn to dusk, I will become muttaqi. It is a prescription that we have to work towards so that we may achieve taqwa. And when we do achieve taqwa, that is one level above being a Muslim only. That we are a better Muslim, and after that there are levels to travel. There is wara, for example, that is above taqwa. But first we have to get to the baseline. So how do we achieve this goal? We can see in the books that we have that fasting, and very quickly, I will move very quickly here because this is not our main aim, and it says fasting is a great effective factor in the process of training the self. Fasting makes our journey towards piety in all dimensions easy. Fasting makes it easy. Fasting, if observed in the manner that Allah wants us to observe, then it is a worship of the highest level, only second to salat, and so much so that Allah says that if you fast for me, then Allah, He says Himself, is the reward. He doesn't say, I will give you the reward. He is the reward. What more do we want? So how do we do this? It has a lot of other benefits in life that we can see. We have, for example, it is to train our natural appetites. Allah has granted us many things in life. He has given us the power of desire. He has given us the power of anger. He has given us the power of intellect. And He has given us the power of imagination. These are the 4 faculties that He granted every human being. Now, having granted us this, He has told us how to achieve the highest level through these faculties. Meaning, desires He gave us. He gave us the want for food. We like good food. But then He's told us what is our limit. We can only eat this and we cannot eat that. Similarly, our sexual desires, our desires of the satisfaction of bodies, there are many, many desires that we have in life. But He has given us also how to get the most out of it. And therefore, when we read the ayah of Quran where Allah says that those who travel the paths of Allah can go beyond the angels, otherwise you can be even lower than the animals. Why? Because even animals eat, sleep, drink, make merry, make children, and that's about it. That's their life. But this is not what human beings are. So in fasting, it is a process where we can achieve the highest levels of intellect and highest levels of servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we must not mistake fasting for keeping away from food and drink only. It is much beyond that, and we need to travel that path so that is the baseline. It's like going to an elementary school. These days we also see that children in elementary school graduate. What does it mean? In real terms, it means nothing. A graduate from elementary school means nothing. He has to travel that path further higher up and go to university and go beyond that as well. But if he does not go to elementary school, can he go to the university? He can't. He will not even comprehend. He will get lost. However many classes he takes, he is not going to get anywhere. Similarly, fasting or any law for that matter in Islam is the baseline. We must be able to understand that to be able to move forward in life. Now, so the main object of fasting is to purify our conduct and our character. That is why many times we listen to ahadith. They tell us that if you do ghiba, Rasulullah told that woman, go and eat. Why? It does not mean that she had broken the baseline. No, but she had not achieved the conduct and character that is to be achieved through fasting. When we are fasting, we have to be fasting with all our organs. Many times we also hear that during the holy month of Ramadan, the shaitan is chained. So what does it mean? Shaitan is chained. Shaitan is a unit that we put in jail. Then what? Does it mean that Rasulullah said something wrong? Does it mean he did? Sorry for that. Now, what does this mean to us that shaitan is restrained or is jailed or chained in the month of Ramadan? What it means to us is that in this month it is time for us to look at ourselves inside. Because we see that during the holy month of Ramadan in Muslim cities, Muslim countries, like I mentioned it yesterday in my khutbah as well, there is more sin that happens in this month than in any of the rest of the months. Then what is it? It is because in this month all external forces are kept away from us. We feel more attached to our Creator during this month. And in this month it is time therefore to look into ourselves and say, hello, where am I? And if I am sinning, it means that it is my nafs, the nafs which is drawing me towards ammara, which is prone to sin, which is nafs ammara, which is drawing and making its force to me, and I have not achieved what I am supposed to achieve. So, and there are more details here, you can always read this. Now, just to make it a little lighter, we will now look at a very short clip. It is supposed to be something which is only exciting and for a joke, but in that there is a lesson that we need to draw. So let's play the video, please.
I figure 75% to you, Panma, and 25% divided between the five of us. Yida, Crowbar, myself, Tom, and the baby. That makes 5% for each one of us.
Billy, you're cheating yourself. If there's 25% divided among the five of you, that's 14% apiece.
Oh, no, listen, Pa. I wouldn't cheat you. You know I wouldn't. Now, look here. I'll show you. Let me rub this out here. And now, 25 divided by 5 is 5. You see, 5 won't go into 2, will it? No. But 5 goes into 25 5 times, you see?
No, you're wrong, Billy. Now, I'm a pretty good mathematician. Now, 5 into 25... 5 won't go into 2, will it?
No.
But 5 goes into 5 once. Now, we didn't use the 2 before, so we bring it down here. Now, 5 into 20 goes 4 times. There you are. 5 into 25, 14.
No, look, Pa. Let me prove it to you now by multiplication. 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25.
Really, I'm surprised you're learning.
Huh?
I'm surprised that you're learning. Now I'll show you. 5 times 14 is 25. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 1 is 5. 25. That's it.
No, look, Ma. See, look, you're wrong there because I'll prove it to you. We'll put down 5 14s here. 14, 14, 14. There. Now I'll prove to you by addition that 5 14s is not 25. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20.
21, 22, 23, 24, 25. There you are. Better brush up, Billy. I don't want to see you boys cheated.
What do we learn? What is its connection with what we are doing here? The connection is very simple. that every aspect of our lives, whether we realize it or not, has to have its rules. Even simple math like 25 divided by 5, if I have not been to the elementary school to learn how to do it, this is what happens. And if we were to take mathematics like this, we would become engineers of the highest class. And what will happen to the world, God knows. So everything needs to have rules, and that is why we say, even in Islam, and every act of worship has its rules. I cannot say I can pray the way I want. Allah has set rules of how to pray. Allah has set rules of how to fast. Allah has set rules on how to go for tawaf and how to do sa'i and everything in life. It has to have that basic rules. However, let me make it very clear that fiqh and the rules are a baseline. They are not the be-all and end-all of the subject. You cannot be an engineer in university without doing elementary mathematics. You cannot achieve the goals of ibadat without knowing and accomplishing the rules and laws that are there that Allah has set. And therefore, it is very important for us to understand the rules of the ibadat as well, and that will be how we adopt the ibadat, and based on that, we try and achieve the greater goals that we move forward with. So we start with what is the very first rule is the niyyah. The niyyah in Ramadan can be done on the very first night, or it can be done every day. However, this niyyah must be done moments before the time of Fajr. It is not when Fajr becomes qada, because we have a tendency of looking at when the sun is rising, so we pray 10 minutes before that. No, it's not that. Niyat of fasting for a conscious person has to be before the time of Fajr. So when Fajr sets in, he is ready for it, he is conscious about his fast, and this is for Ramadan. This is not mustahab fast. For mustahab fast, there is a different level that we can go to. And what it means is we don't need to say it. When we were young, we were told, oh, hu rojo raku chu, kurbatan ilallah, wajib kurbatan ilallah, and all that. That is fine. We can say it, there is no problem, but it is not a compulsion that we say it. We must be conscious that we are fasting. And what does that mean? Is that by fasting, I am going to abstain from what Allah has told me to abstain from Fajr until Maghrib. Now, let me bring a very important aspect here is sometimes we are waiting for the clock and it's second. Oh, you still have 10 seconds, let me have a glass of water. Or people like us who smoke will say, let me get my last puff. Sometimes we are waiting with our cup of tea for iftar. Let the time just get there and I'll get on with my cup of tea. Brothers and sisters, we have fasted for 15, 16, 18 hours. Whole day. 5 minutes before and 5 minutes later, is it really going to matter? Let's say that instead of, for example, in Orlando, the time is going to be 8:42 for iftar. Say it was 8:50. Then what? We would have fasted until 8:50. So what is the rush? Let's not spoil our fast. What if the clock is not correct? Or what if there is no ihtiyat in that and that I break my fast those 10 seconds before it really needs to be broken? Now, alhamdulillah, we are followers of the Ahlul Bayt, in which we are told that once the time comes in, the fast is already done. There is no need that we must eat and drink and whatever. So this is fine. It is good to drink straight away or eat straight away, but it is always good to wait for a couple of moments, and it is always good to recite our prayers in the state of that fasting and then open our fast. Now, What are the 9 things that break our fast? It's eating, drinking, and the most important thing, and we will discuss each one very quickly, inshallah. The second is to ascribe false things to Allah, Rasulullah, and the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. The third is to swallow thick dust, to take enema in liquids, to vomit intentionally, to immerse one's entire head in water. This is an opinion of the main jurists. To remain in the state of janaba, haze or nifas at the time of fajr, to indulge in any sexual intercourse, or to instigate any form of masturbation in which one would result in ejaculation. Now, eating and drinking. We will go into an outline of these subjects very quickly because the masails are there in the book and you can refer them for details. If one intentionally eats or drinks during the day when he is fasting, the fast is broken and he will not only have to give qadha for that day, he will also have to give kafara if it is intentionally done. Now, we will come to what is kafara and what is fidya. There are 2 terms that we will come to at the end of the session, inshallah. So, intentionally you break it, there is qadha and kafara. Unintentionally, I forgot, it is my habit that when I wake up in the middle of the day or night, I drink a glass of water, and unconsciously I just picked a glass of water and put it in my mouth before I realized that I was fasting, then that does not break the fast. However, the moment I realize that I am fasting, I should not only stop drinking or eating that thing, whatever is in my mouth also must be thrown out, because a moment after I have lost the day. So that is the baseline of eating and drinking. Now, ascribing lies to Allah, Rasulullah, and the Ahlul Bayt. This is one of the most important things that in our day-to-day life we must be very careful, even outside fasting. Oh, a Quran malakhelus. Oh, this is a hadith of Rasulullah. Baba, if I don't know the hadith, if I don't know the ayah of the Quran and what it really means in its depth, I should not be talking about it. Yes, refer to the Quran and say it. So this is also very important. It not only breaks our fast, there is a lot of penalties to this, because let us think about something. Today, in the Muslim world, we see so many unauthentic ahadith. Some are fabricated. For example, Rasulullah says, Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Aliyun Babuha, that I am the city of knowledge whose gate is Ali. Now, there were people in history who added to this by saying, and Fulan is the window of the city of knowledge, and Fulan is the what we call the roof of that city. It never was. Because the hadith says, Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Aliyun Babuha, I am the city of knowledge and Ali is its gate. Whoever wants that knowledge should come through its gate. So what is the window and roof for? You can't come through it. You are thieves if you come through there. And you will never achieve the righteousness that is required by that knowledge. So we should be very careful about what we are saying. However, ulamas are very lenient about this by saying that if I believe in that hadith and then say it, then my fast does not break. But if I realize afterwards, even then there is no qada for it. Now, letting dust get into the throat is any dust, whether it is dust from the sand, which is haram to consume, or which is from flour that we bake at home, we prepare at home, and if there is something, or we go to a flour mill and that dust comes in and goes to the throat, it breaks our fast. Enema by liquid also breaks our fast, even if it is required for my health for that day. If I have to take enema, if it is liquid enema, then that day's fast I will have to pay qada for. Vomiting, if it is an involuntary thing that comes up as a vomit, we are fine. There is no problem with that. We just have to clean our mouth so that it doesn't go in. But if it is something that I induce, then that makes the fast batil. Now, the general opinion of the ulamas is immersing our heads entirely in water. Ayatollah Khuy Marhum was very strict about this, that the roza is batil, that is the fast is batil. Ayatollah Sistani says it is shadid makruh to immerse one's entire head in water. It does not break the fast, and if anyone decides to do ghusl irtimasi, which is submerging the entire body inside water in the sea or in water which we can do ghusl with, he says the fast is valid as well as the ghusl is valid. There is no qada for it. But general opinion of the other ulama is that it should not be done. Now, remaining in hayd, janaba or nifas at the time of fajr. Now, the masails are generally based for janaba, and that is that one must do his or her ghusl before fajr. Now, generally, even outside Mahe Ramadan, it is makruh to be in the state of janaba. When one is in a state of janaba, it is makruh to eat, it is makruh to drink, it is makruh to sleep, it is makruh to go out. But there is ways to do it, and that is by doing wudu, the karahat is removed. However, it is always good to be pak of ghusl. Whenever ghusl becomes wajib on us, we must get that wajibat done so that it does not become an impediment in doing other ibadat. For example, when somebody in the state of janabat sleeps at night, if he wakes up late in the morning, then he will say, oh, I have to still take a bath before I can recite my prayers. The wajibat of that ghusl is before the next salat becomes qada. However, if I am done with my ghusl in the night already, then in the morning that excuse of my nafs or shaitan will not come. I will wake up and recite my 2 rakat salat. So this is very important. Now, as far as the women's masails are concerned, I will not go very much in detail. You have able ladies who can guide specific masails. So we will look at the general masails of janabat. Now, one who is sure, number one, who is sure to wake up before fajr for ghusl, has the firm niyyah of doing ghusl before fajr during month of Ramadan, goes to sleep in the state of janaba or hayz or nifas, then he does not wake up, then in that case his fast is valid. Now, he woke up in the middle of the night and says, oh, it's still time. I can still go back to sleep. I'm going to wake up at 4:30 as it is for Sehri. So I can do my ghusl at that time, and goes back to sleep and does not wake up before Fajr. Then for that day he will have to be in imsak, and he will also have to give qada, because now that is the second sleep. He woke up the second time and it's still 3 o'clock. I can still do it. I can still manage it. And goes back to sleep but does not wake up on that day before Fajr. In that case, then he will also have to give a kafara for that day. So, the most ideal thing is, if you are in a state of najasat which requires ghusl, then in that case, get the ghusl done so that there is no problem in the day. However, if there is an involuntary situation during the day of Ramadan, and this is mainly for the young men, if they have a situation where they are in a state of janaba that happened during the day, in that case the fast is valid, there is no problem. They have to get their ghusl-e-janabat done before the next namaz becomes qada. Now, ghusl-e-masse-mayyit is not part of this najasat. Ghusl-e-masse-mayyit can be done in the night, and one can sleep with it, and it will he or she will have to do the ghusl before Fajr becomes qada. Or if it is in the day, it is all right, we can go and do ghusl to a mayyit, there is no problem. Although we are doing it ourselves during the time of fasting, yes, it is allowed, there is no problem absolutely whatsoever. We can do it, there is no problem with that, and we must do our ghusl before the next salat becomes qada. Now, indulging in any form of sexual intercourse is not allowed, and it will bring about the breaking of the fast, as well as it will attract a qada, a kafara. Any form of inducement so that one becomes in a state of janaba will also make the fast batil and will also attract a kafara. Now, for women, I will just say one thing, because maybe there is a misconception that we may have, is if a woman ends her hayz or nifas after the time of Fajr has set in, no sugar, then that day's fast is not valid. He or she will have to fast that day's qada. Similarly, if it begins before the day has ended, before Maghrib has come, even if it means only 10 minutes before Maghrib, that day's fast is gone and they will have to fast qada for it. Now, fasting by a traveler. Anyone who is reciting, the base principle is, anyone who is reciting Qasr Salat cannot fast. So, who is not reciting Qasr Salat? One is when we are at home. We can have more than one homes. For example, students who study in outer cities, that is their home, as well as this parent's home where they are dependent upon is also their home, and they consider it that way, then that will be a full fast. Even if they are here for a day, they will have to pray full and they will have to fast also. The second one is Kasirus Safar, with a person whose profession is traveling. A courier, a pilot, a train engineer, one whose profession is traveling. And there are many others. The baseline is one who recites Qasr cannot fast. One who does not recite Qasr in travel will have to fast during Maha Ramadan also. So this is the baseline. However, now, in this, I am not a traveler, but I want to travel, or I have to travel for that day or for that week or during that period of Maha Ramadan. What happens if I travel after Zohar from my hometown? That day's fast is valid. If I leave my tarakhus, hadde tarakhus, my boundary before Zawal, Zohar time has entered, then that day's fast is not valid and it will have to be paid qada as well. Now, on the same note, if I am coming back home from a travel, if I reach before Zohar and I have made the niyyah that I will fast on that day, expecting to be here before Zohar time, then that day's fast is valid if I am back home before Zohar.
This is for someone who's traveling away from home, they need to travel after Zohar.
Yeah. Now, anybody coming back home, if he comes back home and reaches home before Zohar, then his fast is valid for that day, if he has made the niyyah. Now comes the two important aspects. One is kafara, one is fidya. Kafara is three types. For every fast that requires kafara, there is 60 fasts to be paid. Now, kafara means penalty. For one fast that requires kafara, the qadha is there, plus kafara is 60 fasts, of which the first 31 have to be done consecutively and 29 thereafter. This is a penalty. Or the second type of kafara is to feed 60 people to their fill. 60 poor people to their fill. And the third one is to get a slave freed. Now, we will say there is no slavery. There is slavery in this world today. There are people who are enslaved in various forms. It may not be called slavery, but that is a different aspect and a different subject on its own. But these are the three kafaras that have to be looked at. Whilst fidya is a compensation. It is not a penalty. Fidya is to give 3/4 kilo of grain to a poor person when there is certain conditions. Now, what are the conditions of kafara and fidya? We can discuss very briefly. Kafara is when I am penalized, when I have broken my fast intentionally and kafara is attracted. Now, there is a difference here between Ayatullah al-Khuy, Allah Makama, and Ayatullah Sistani. Ayatullah Khuy used to say that if you break your fast intentionally with haram, na'uzubillah, God forbid, somebody broke his fast with a glass of wine, for example. He broke it with haram or by having illicit sexual relationship. In that case, there is all the three kafaras. Ayatullah Khuy used to say. Ayatullah Sistani says it is one kafara wajib and it is highly recommended that we do all the three if it is broken by haram. But if it is not broken by haram and it is broken by halal, then in that case only one kafara is required. Whilst fidya is a compensation for lapse. For example, a pregnant lady who cannot fast because of her pregnancy, a feeding mother who cannot fast because she is feeding the child and she cannot satisfy the child's requirement by if she fasts, or not doing the qadha during the year. Then in that case, the qadha remains and the fidya also has to be paid. So this is the difference between kafara and fidya. G.
If she was not able to pay the qadha in that year,
Yes.
so in the following year she has to pay the qadha and pay the fidya.
For example, let me clarify this if I have not been very clear. This is year 1435. Okay, now we are coming to the Ramadan of 1435. In the year 1434, I missed 3 fasts, for example. Now it is already 29th of Shaban, for example, and I have not been able to fast for those 3 days, qadha, then I will have to pay fidya for those 3 fasts, but the qadha remains. Now, when it comes to 1436, and if I have still not fasted, the qadha remains, there is no second fidya. Fidya is only for the first year when I have not accomplished the qadha in time, the first 11 months. However, there is an exception for pregnancy and the feeding mothers that we can discuss later on, inshallah. Now, the last thing for today, as far as masails are concerned, is we want to look at Yawmul Shak. which is a very pertinent issue that we have, and that is the day of 30th of Shaban. The moon has not been confirmed, sighting of the moon has not been confirmed, so technically it is 30th Shaban, it is not yet 1st of Ramadan. On that day it is good to fast, but it is not wajib to fast. Number two, if we are fasting, we cannot make the niyyah of Ramadan. It cannot be Ramadan because it is not yet Ramadan. So on that day, if we are fasting, then we fast with the niyyah of qada or any other thing or any other niyyah. Now, we must understand one thing as a very important principle, and that is one cannot observe a mustahab fast if there is qada on him. If I have qada, whether from the previous years, when I was a young man and was negligent about myself, doesn't matter. If there is qada, I cannot do mustahab fast anytime until I have finished my qada. Now, one will say, I don't know if I have qada. So you can always make a niyyah of qada when we are fasting on, say, Mi'raj day or 15th Shaban or any other day. The fasting of the day, Allah is not a miser. We must understand this. Allah is not a miser. He will reward us for fasting on that day. But we must, if we have qada, then we make a niyyah of qada. So one, we are fulfilling our obligation and wajibat of repayment of the debt. And two, we are also getting the thawab of fasting on that day. Now, for those who have not fasted on the 30th of Shaban, and in the afternoon it is declared that it is the first day of my Ramadan. This happens sometimes because we get news and there is confirmations that come up later on in the day. Then what happens? Those who are not fasting will have to stop eating, drinking or anything that will break fast immediately, because imsak becomes wajib, and they will have to pay a qada after Ramadan for that day. For those who are not fasting and have not broken any of the rules that are for fasting, for example, at 10 in the morning I have not had my breakfast, I have not done anything that will break my fast, I can make a niyyah at that time immediately and continue with the fast, and the fast is valid. But this is if the news are confirmed before Zohar. If the confirmation comes after Zohar, then imsak becomes wajib, the fast will not be accepted, and there is a qada for it. Now, those who are fasting and the news come during the day, then they have to make a change of niyyah, because in the month of Ramadan, there is no other niyyah of fasting except the month of Ramadan. There cannot be any other niyyah. There is no nazar, there is no qasam, there is no ahad. Nothing is acceptable as a niyyah of fasting during the month of Ramadan. Only month of Ramadan, which is the present month that we are in, and that is the fast that will be, that is the niyyah that is accepted. So, it is good to fast if we get the news after Maghrib, for example, that today is not now the first night, it is the second night. In that case, those who have fasted, their fast will automatically be transferred to my Ramadan. There is no qada. But those who have not fasted, for them there is only qada that has to be paid for that day. So, this is coming up next Saturday, for example. That is the Yawmul Shak that we say. Now, Ayatullah Khu used to refuse to make niyyah of Shak. That if it is Mahe Ramadan, then it is fast of Ramadan. If it is not Ramadan, then it is a mustahab fast or a qadha fast or whatever. He used to refuse that, but Ayatollah Sistani says we can make that sort of a niyyah. But it's always good to make a niyyah of qada, and if we get a confirmation, you can always change the niyyah. So this is a basic outline of the masails. The booklets that we have are also very condensed masails. These are not very comprehensive. It's because these are the day-to-day requirements. Any specific aspects we can always discuss and we can always get clarifications. Well, this brings us to the end of the discussion on this. The floor is now open for any questions or any clarifications that we want to do, inshallah. Ji.
So how about bleeding in the mouth while you're fasting? How do you go about that? I know you're probably required to spit the blood out, or are you required to rinse your mouth out as well?
That would be the right thing to do, because even generally if you are not fasting also, it is haram to swallow your own blood also, besides any other blood. So yes, you will have to rinse your mouth and remove any traces if there is. Accidentally, it's okay. Accidentally is okay, even in terms of, like you said, it was a requirement that you rinse your mouth when you are bleeding in the mouth, or when you are doing wudu, for example, and you are gargling and a drop of water goes in, there is no problem accidentally. But if you are gargling just to keep your mouth wet, not because you are doing wudu, and in that case, accidentally it goes in, then there is a problem.
The same question when it comes to brushing teeth.
Brushing has been allowed. It is okay. Brushing teeth has been allowed during the month of Ramadan. There is no problem. Yes. Yes. When Maha Ramadan comes, the first thing is imsak. Even for those who are not fasting, even with Shari reasons, it is not that we go out eating and drinking. Or when we have come back home from a travel and we are not fasting on that particular day, even then imsak must be observed. So similarly, on Yawmul Shak, for example, if one is not fasting and cannot finish that day's fast because he has already had his breakfast and whatever, in that case also he must observe imsak from that point onwards up to Maghrib. Then do the qadha. Ji. That for them it is not wajib to observe imsak. When a person is not fasting because of sickness, then he can eat and drink. But the hurma of Maha Ramadan is, and this is something that we will see, that we brought up in East Africa were very strict. Our parents were very strict, even with our children. That during the Ramadan there would be no table that would be set up. We would be made to sit in the kitchen and eat and all that. That is to instill that hurma of Maha Ramadan. You go to other cultures. Sometimes you wonder, are you in a Muslim country? They could have Shari excuses for not fasting. Maybe they are travelers. But the hurma of Maha Ramadan is, it should not be something that is open. Yes, you had a question.
Actually, it's the same question. Maybe a little bit different.
Ji.
I was fasting, and I went to visit my daughter. And what he has to expect too. I went to my daughter. Now, and I stopped bleeding, feel dizzy. Okay, now, I cannot fast
No, you see, if it is necessary to break your fast because of sickness, whether it is by extraction of tooth or by any other aspect, and in that case you have to break your fast because you can't continue anymore, in that case, yes, you are allowed. There is no problem. For sick people, it is different. It is not a wajibat. It depends from sickness to sickness and from the situation from an individual to an individual. But generally, we must observe the hurma, as we say, the sanctity of the holy month of Ramadan, which is very important. Anything else that we want to discuss? We have time, so there is no problem, and if there is something that I can answer, inshallah we can answer that, there is no problem. One thing that came to my mind as we were speaking is a very common question that comes. There are two common questions that I will now discuss since there is time. One is that there are 4 places in Sharia where we have the option of either reciting full salat or qasr salat. One is the entire city of Makkah. Second is the entire city of Medina. Third is the place Masjid Kufa, not Najaf, not Haram of Imam Ali, it is Masjid Kufa. And fourth is under the dome of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn's Haram. Not the entire Karbala, not the entire city of Kufa. This must be understood well. Now, say in the month of Ramadan I am there in one of these places and I decided to recite full. Can I fast? No, I cannot fast. If I am a traveler, known as a traveler, which is traveling less than 10 days in any one city, then I cannot fast, though we have the option of praying full. So this is a clarification of that. The second very common question comes from the women's side, the young women, especially who undergo the process of pregnancy and feeding children. A woman who was pregnant in, say, year 1 and could not fast because of her pregnancy or because the child in her womb could not bear it and whatever. So that she was not fasting. There is only qada for it. During the year, she could not do the fast and she delivered the baby, of course. And now comes the second year of Maha Ramadan, where she has not fasted and not given her qada. So what is the fidya she will pay? 1. Because she did not fast out of pregnancy, there is a fidya for it. Now, because the year has lapsed and she has not been able to repay the qada in time, she will have to pay the second fidya for that fast because of 2 different reasons now. There are 2 different niyyah now. Although, if one has not been able to fast for 30 days, for example, we have 50 weeks in a year, of which 4 weeks are Maha Ramadan. That leaves us with 46 weeks. If we can do 1 in a week, we will be there. So if there is that niyyah, unless one is unable altogether, but generally if we have qada fast, we should not wait, when Maha Rajab comes, when Maha Shaban comes, I will start fasting. This is normally our attitude. What we must do is we should try. Though in Shia Islam we don't have the emphasis on the 6 days immediately after Maha Ramadan that our other brothers have. For example, immediately the next day after Eid, they start fasting for 6 days and have a second Eid the 7th day again. But that is not something that is emphasized in us. It is nothing wrong in doing it. If it is going to finish our wajibat, the faster the better. So this is the two clarifications that I thought is necessary. If there is anything else, please feel free. Ji.
So, if pregnant woman makes up the fast within the year, there's no fidya at all? Or is that
For who?
for the pregnant woman? She makes up the fast?
No. There is one fidya because she missed the fast because of pregnancy or breastfeeding.
Yeah.
That is one fidya that is there. The second fidya, which is for not completing the qada. If she has completed the qada, then there is no second fidya for her. Ji.
I apologize, I came late, we might have discussed this. When does one actually stop eating when one is fasting? I know for Ihtiyat we stop about 15 minutes, but when is it actually?
Exactly, if you want to know, it is the exact time when it is Fajr, Subh Sadiq. What is Subh Sadiq? If you want to really understand, you will have to go and observe the eastern skies in the morning. When it is time, you will see that from the horizon in the east, where the sun is about to get to rise, you will see the first light that comes, which is like a fox's tail. It's called a fox's tail. That is Subh Kadhib. The first ray that comes, that is Subh Kadhib. That is what they call the false dawn. It is still not yet Subh Sadiq. But then that light that comes from that ray goes upon the horizon. It's a very, very thin thing, but you can make out that this is now going to be where the sun is rising from. Then that is Subh Sadiq. That is the exact time of starting of Salat. So that is the time of starting the fast. However, because now we have so much technology, we have timetables that we have, because ulamas have come with figures of how many degrees the sun is below the horizon, that we can count as Subh Sadiq and Subh Kadhib. And if you want to really understand that concept, then Sayyid Muhammad Rizvi has written a beautiful paper explaining so many things. The nautical dawn, he goes even further by saying the nautical dawn and there is a dawn that is the false dawn and then the true dawn, and he's discussed the degrees and everything much in detail. So we have this technology with which we make our timetables. Even there we will see that there is a column before Fajr which says Imsak. So it's always good to have Imsak at that time so that we stop eating or drinking or smoking or whatever we are doing and be prepared for Salat.
So technically speaking, it is right at the azan time.
Yes. Technically, yes. But generally, we don't give adhan at that technical immediate time. We always give a couple of minutes, because even in this timetables that we see, there is an ihtiyat that has been used for Fajr. Because look at it in a reverse situation. When you are not fasting, you don't want to pray ahead of time either. Yes.
They call it as azan bilal, to call people, but the actually azan time is when the imam does iqamah, correct?
No. I think there is a couple of minutes. If we look at, for example, Makkah and Medina, they have one adhan for tahajjud, which is about an hour and a half before the actual salat time. But then they have the adhan of Fajr. Now that adhan and the time that we pray salat differs by about 5 to 10 minutes. So we are fine. We are fine if we pray about 5 minutes or...
The reason I'm asking is so many brothers, instead of
Oh. No, no, no. The Imam normally does Iqama much later, sometimes even 20, 30 minutes after the Adhan. And that is because of the masail of waiting for people for Jama'at. That has got nothing to do with time of Salat. Even here, like for example, when we have Salatul Jama'at during the weekends, we start half an hour after Adhan, waiting for people to come. Anything else that the women are very quiet. Anything that we want to discuss from your end? Feel free.
Person's unsure whether he has any fast outs coming. What niyat is he supposed to fast and Rajab for example? Does he do like mustahab or?
No, if you think you have qada but you don't know for sure, then you do niyat of qurbat, with the intention that if there is a qada, then let this be a repayment of qada.
You know for sure. What if you don't know whether
There was qada at all, then you are fine, then there is no qada. If you've been let's put it this way, if you've been a good boy when in your young age, then it's okay. There is no qada for you. You don't have to be in a doubt about these things generally, unless you know that there were times when you were already baligh and you were not fasting. But if you can't remember that ever since you were baligh that you have not fasted in the month of Ramadan, you don't have to go into those shak. There is no reason for it.
Can you clarify about the pregnancy and the breastfeeding? You said that you have to pay 2 fidya because there's
Okay.
situated, right?
Say in the year 2013, okay? Can you see?
Yeah.
2013, this lady was pregnant, okay? So there is a fidya for not fasting here. Alright? Now, 2014, sorry, the mic is very far from me. 2014 comes, Mahe Ramadan, and she has not fulfilled her fast. So, during this period, qada is not fulfilled. Okay? In that case, there is a fidya again. So, it is very simple. Here, not fasting because of pregnancy or breastfeeding, there is a fidya. Now, if I did the qaza during the year, there is no second fidya for it, and the qaza is done. But come the next Mahe Ramadan, and I have not fulfilled the qaza, then in that case I have to pay the second fidya for not having accomplished the qaza in time. And that is the second fidya. After 2014, there is no fidya.
In the third, suppose in 2015.
Doesn't matter, there is no fidya, but the qaza remains. Only qaza remains. Fidya is only during, for that first year period where you have not done the qaza.
can you explain exactly what fidya is?
Fidya is a compensation which is 3/4 of a kilogram of grain to be given to a poor person for every fast. So, for example, if somebody has missed 30 fasts, then you give 22.5 kilos of grain. But the only difference here in fidya is you cannot give it in cash, in lieu of the price. Fidya to the haqdar must be given in kind. Yes, we are allowed to give to an intermediary. For example, I want to send my fidya to India, but how will I send it? Or I want to send it to East Africa, to Zanzibar, to Mombasa, wherever I want to send it. Okay? And that is the only way I can do it because there is nobody here that I can do it with. So in that case, if I have a middleman whom I can pay so that he buys the grain and gives it to the haqdar, that is allowed. But otherwise, you cannot give the cash in lieu to the haqdar of fidya. That is the difference of fidya. Fidya is very important. It has to be given to the haqdar, the one who is to receive that in kind, not in cash. Yes, a poor person.
What about if fidya was never paid but the qaza was done? So is the fidya still remains on the shoulder?
It is a debt. It's a debt, yes. I mean, somebody who did not know the masail 5 years, 10 years back, yes, then you would have to pay for it, yes. But once the first year is over, there is no fidya again. Say, for example, I did not fast in 2013 and could not able to give my qaza until 2018, for example. So it's not that every year I have to pay fidya, no. It is only once.
But during pregnancy, you have to give fidya.
Yes, pregnancy or breastfeeding. If it is because you are not fasting because of those two reasons,
While you are
yes,
pregnant,
yes.
you have to give fidya.
If you have not fasted.
I don't understand the philosophy behind it. Why do they pay fidya? She's pregnant, or she's breastfeeding. Why she being punished for it?
It's not a punishment. Fidya, that is why fidya, I said, is not a penalty. Fidya is a compensation. It is not a penalty. Kafara is a penalty.
Well, for example, if somebody is sick, let's say somebody is sick during the month of Ramadan, they are not, if they are able to pay their qaza during that year, they don't have to pay fidya. But why does a pregnant woman have to pay fidya?
Because pregnancy and breastfeeding is not a disease, it is not a sickness. I can only give you that as an answer. I don't have an answer for that, I'm sorry. Yes, it can be rice, it can be wheat, it can any grain, yes.
Some of the ladies in pregnancy can fast.
So they fast.
Now I understand why Blue Cross Blue Shield, they got their definition from because they don't consider pregnancy. They're refusing to pay for pregnancy for many, many years until
But even medically, you don't consider pregnancy as a disease or a sickness, right? Anyway, inshallah, this will be over. We will stop here. And if there is anything, even during the month of Ramadan, we are always available, inshallah. If we don't have answers, we will acquire answers for you. Feel free. You can write to me. You can. I am on Facebook, but I don't log in. So you will have to call me or text me. So you can do that anytime, even the women's side. If there is anything that we can do for you, always, inshallah. So we end here, inshallah, with وصلى الله على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد